Welcome back to Golf Xtra. The recent LIV-PGA merger has sent the golf world reeling. PGA Commissioner Jay Monahan's stunning about-face from being a staunch opponent of LIV and a fierce critic of the organization's Saudi backers to a partner with those very same people has surprised golf fans and players alike. The reaction of one player in particular stands out though, and in a heated meeting, that player was apparently hit with some strong words. But what exactly was said and why? Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this one. Now let's get right into what went down in the PGA Tour's recent closed-door meeting. After the news broke about the LIV-PGA merger, there were certainly more questions than answers. Chief among these questions included who exactly knew about the merger, what the PGA Tour will look like now, and what exactly changed to cause this sudden shift. But one of those unanswered questions remains: what the reaction of Rory McIlroy was, one of the PGA Tour's most ardent backers and most prominent players. News broke shortly after the announcement of the merger that Rory, despite his close ties to PGA management, didn't even know that the merger was occurring. Instead, he found out alongside all of the other PGA Tour members and was forced to air any grievances that he might have in a subsequent closed-door meeting ahead of the upcoming RBC Canadian Tournament in Toronto later in the day on Tuesday. After the meeting, even Monahan himself acknowledged that it was an emotional event, saying, "I would describe the meeting as intense, certainly heated." So, what exactly happened in this meeting? According to both named and anonymous sources for several publications, the meeting started out in a very similar way to what was outlined in the initial press release. Monahan also acknowledged some of the major reasons behind the merger, specifically that the merger was a needed step to end the ongoing litigation between the two organizations. He was quick to point out, though, that the initial merger was just a framework that needed to be worked out further. After going over some of his past comments regarding the LIV Tour and some of his current positions, he finished by saying that he had few details on the exact future of the tour. Granted, no matter how well-reasoned his statement would have been, there was little doubt that the players had a right to be upset. After the meeting, an anonymous player described the mood of the room to a reporter, saying most of the players were very angry. The sentiment in the room was pretty somber, and Jay was definitely getting attacked. He handled it okay, but there were times where he could have been more accepting and put himself in our shoes more. He was like, "I'm doing this for the betterment of the tour, guys. Can't you see this?" And a lot of guys were like, "We don't trust you." The player added that the mood would have been very different had the PGA leadership, Monahan included, not taken such a strict line on the issues between the two organizations and forced the players to do so as well, saying people would be more open to it if it was more of a conversation 2 years ago before all of this started. The tour messed up in the beginning and took such a hard stance. To go back on his words literally a year later after making all these changes. Honestly, the PGA Tour is in a good spot with all the designated events and the changes. But I also think the litigation is the real reason for the merger. I think LIV was going to be perfectly fine dragging out the court case. There's a lot of stuff. On the record, Australian golfer Geoff Ogilvy added his own set of comments on the meeting, saying, "We didn't learn that much other than there's going to be an alliance and the business structure is going to change, and I don't know if it's all going to be happy families. But I think all these power brokers and check writers in golf are going to try and come together for the common good. And I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of carnage, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt until I see the end result and see how it all turns out." Maybe a bit more compassionate than some of his fellow tour members, Geoff added, "I'm glad I wasn't Jay today. There are some grumpy players in there. I feel a little bit I'm not lied to, but just that the tour has sort of changed its position quickly and dropped it on us really fast. So maybe there's a feeling of a lack of trust and a little bit in the leadership. It just feels like nobody really knows what's happening and the players are out of the loop. But no one really ever likes being out of a loop. You know, everyone likes a bit of information, and especially when it's your livelihood and your job and the sport you love. But what was it about Rory McIlroy that caused such a strong reaction from others in the meeting? Well, the context is that PGA golfer Grayson Murray had the floor and was speaking regarding the various issues in the merger, as the anonymous player reports. He only responded to Grayson when Grayson was going off on tangents, outbursts saying like, "We don't trust you, Jay. You should resign now. You lied to our face." I forget exactly what led to this, but Rory goes, "Just play better, Grayson," and that got a bad response from the crowd. Murray, not humored by this comment in the moment, reportedly responded by saying, "F off." Whoa, that's a strong response, but warranted given the tension in the situation. As it turns out, things were resolved after the meeting though, as it appeared that McIlroy was just trying to lighten the mood in the moment. As PGA Tour player Wesley Bryan later reported, the two were cordial and pleasant post-meeting, saying in addition, "We chatted as a group of players and we were laughing about the comment. No beef or hard feelings either way." During his Wednesday media availability at the RBC Canadian Open, McIlroy was finally able to say his piece on the whole LIV-PGA merger, and he started out by acknowledging his thankless role as a PGA loyalist, saying, "It's hard for me not to feel like a sacrificial lamb. I put myself out there." McIlroy elaborated on the timing of the merger and how he found out about it, saying, "I learned about it at pretty much the same time that everyone else did, and yeah, it was a surprise. I knew there had been discussions going on in the background. I knew that lines of communication had been opened up. I obviously didn't expect it to happen as quickly as it did." That is noteworthy that McIlroy was at least aware of discussions, but obviously he was in the dark to some degree. During the press conference, McIlroy was asked whether or not he still had confidence in Jay Monahan as the PGA commissioner, to which he responded, "I do. Removing myself from the situation, I see how this is better for the game of golf. There's no denying it. For me as an individual, there's just going to have to be conversations that are had. I've dealt with Jay a lot closer than a lot of those guys have, and from where we were a couple of weeks ago to where we are today, I think the future of the PGA Tour looks brighter as a whole." He agreed with Monahan on that the PGA Tour couldn't just accept the LIV defectors back without a punishment or consequences, continuing, "We can't just welcome them back in. That's not going to happen." That's what Jay was trying to get across yesterday. What that looks like for individual players in keeping a tour card, bringing players back into the fold, that's where the anger comes from. I understand that, and there still has to be consequences to actions. The people that left the PGA Tour irreparably harmed this tour, started litigation against it. Above all, McIlroy voiced his hate for LIV Golf, despite any amends that may have been started with this merger. "I still hate LIV. Like, I hate LIV. I hope it goes away, and I fully expect that it does." So, there you have it. Though Rory has already faced some backlash within the PGA Tour for his callous comments in the Tuesday meeting, his position on the whole issue is one of optimism. It remains to be seen whether or not this is a view shared by his fellow golfers, and if it will keep him at his current level of popularity in a turbulent time. So, what do you think about Rory McIlroy's current position on the PGA Tour? Do you think that he's right that the tour is now better off? What do you think of his comment to Grace and Mary in the closed-door meeting? Be sure to leave us a comment with what you think down below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you can watch our latest content updates as soon as they drop. We'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day.